Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. And this is a show about hope and happiness, so there's no gossip, no scandal, no K-words, no Kanye talk at all now or later. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests to that end and special series. And today is the new day, for Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn. Happy holidays, everyone.
Welcome back to the studio for Straight Talk. And for those who don't recognize James, I have new people tuning in. I have eyeballs rolling in right now. I'm going to do something I haven't done with you, I don't know if ever, but I don't have an answering machine. I have a questioning machine. And when you call me, it says, who are you? And what do you want? So, James Hawthorn, who are you? And what do you want?
I am a born and raised East Coaster transplanted to Los Angeles. I am a storyteller, and I'm somebody that likes to help people. There's a sense of purpose in my life. So to that end, I am an actor and personal trainer out in Los Angeles, and my goal is to try and leave the world just a little bit better for me being here than it was before I arrived here. I want to achieve that, and I want to have a good time doing it. The late, great Jimmy Buffett was once asked what he wants his epitaph to be. He said, I want people to say I had a really good time and made a lot of people happy.
Fabulous. That was a great on the spot, very good answer. I didn't warn him about that. Please welcome back to my show, James Hawthorn. You can tell I'm in an affirmative mode.
Yes. Hey, we always like to keep things current and fresh here. I'm thinking you have to update your opener from no Kanye talk to no P. Diddy or Jay-Z talk. They're the ones making the headlines now. Let's keep it timely, huh?
Yes.
Talking about what we're not going to cover today.
Yeah, I used to say Kardashian talk, and I moved Straight Talk to Friday because I've been doing Throwback Thursday. And it's funny, yesterday I did one from, it was Love Will Keep Us Together. Remember her?
Uh-huh.
Tony Tennille. So she's one of my top 10 through the 12 and a half years I've been on. And so I played her. And so it comes when I had my studio in Sunset Gower. And almost the same hairstyle, but it's just like so funny watching back, because that was probably 9 years ago that I interviewed her. But it was, I used to say K words, no Kardashian talk, because that was an instant identifier, right?
Right.
We want to talk about Kardashian. And then
but they're harmless enough.
I'm sorry?
They're harmless enough, that whole clan.
Yeah, but it's just the obsession with talking about somebody's lives that doesn't matter, really. It's yours. Just always been a little bit, I'll have to be honest, a little perturbed about that, because, as you neglect the things in your life that you could be talking about that are great. But anyways, and I changed it to Kanye because a friend of mine was on the show, and they were being, Kim was working with them. It's a juvenile youth facility in eradicating juvenile youth places and programs. And so she asked me to not say that. That's when I changed it to Kanye, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's, I don't even want to know. I know about the first one, but I don't even want to know about the second one. And this is why my kids like roll their eyeballs. I don't want to know what's in the news. In fact, if you are new to the show, welcome. I will not be talking. We will not be talking about what everybody else is talking about in the headlines because, one, you get it everywhere. So I want to distinguish myself as a place that doesn't talk about that because, two, it's almost always negative. Natural disaster, the worst in people in Hollywood and out of Hollywood in the government. And I don't want to talk about that. So I am grateful. We're going to jump into breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn.
Taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. Top of the bun is things that we're grateful for that are outside of ourselves, and bottom of the bun is things that we're grateful for that are inside of ourselves. So that's how we're starting. And I am grateful that I've been on for 660 consecutive weeks. And this is show podcast number 1296, I believe. So I'm grateful that the people that told me that I was not going to last more than a year, I'm so grateful that they were wrong. 12 and a half years later, I'm still here as I stall as James gets him right.
The year of still here. The year of still here is what we shall call 2025.
And James, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for my mom. She made the best Christmas dinner. She makes a really great prime rib every year. I'm going to post some pictures on my Instagram a little bit later. I do the vegetables. She does the prime rib. And it's just a nice tradition we've had going for since I was a little boy. So it's been going on for a long time. And somehow this old oven from 1977 still works.
Wow. That's impressive.
And of course, grateful for, just being able to spend time with her. And I'm glad that even though we live on opposite sides of the country, that flights between the two are affordable, easy, and that I can, see her quite often. It's a real treat.
Great. Did you tell her that I sent my love and gave her a hug from me?
I sure did. And she gave you one right back.
Aww. I actually wore these thinking of her because I think she would enjoy them. It's toilet paper.
That's cool.
A reminder of pandemic. Anyways, I am grateful that there's just so much. I am grateful that I have this incredible life that I've attracted to me that really provides so much richness, both in things and in people and in experiences. And that I was in 4 continents this last year, 4 forking continents, and my body remembers. But I just have to stop and go, wow, how fortunate am I? And I am truly grateful for that. One more gratitude, James, and we'll go to the bottom of the bun because I like it on the bottom.
I'm grateful for all of my friends and neighbors that are taking care of my dog while I'm gone so I don't have to board him, which he doesn't like. And it allows me to spend some extra quality time here with friends and family. So their kindness is really, really wonderful, and very grateful for them for that. And so is my dog, if I might speak for him.
And what's the name of your dog and your friends?
Tux for tuxedo, because he looks like he's always wearing one. Even his birthday suit is fancy. Let me put it to you that way. Yes, and my friends that I'm grateful for are my roommate Matt Conley and my neighbor Clayton Burry and my friend Tyler Brown. They're all working together to make sure Tux is taken care of while I'm back east. So thank you to all of them.
There you go. Let's give them a little love. And I'm going to sneak in one more little gratitude that I forgot. My kids are coming down from San Francisco with my grand dog son, Pablo.
Yes.
So I'm excited about seeing him. His Mima going to spoil him. All right. Bottom of the butt is appreciation. Gratitude turned inwards. What do you like about yourself? Because if you don't know, then you're probably going to be looking for love in all the wrong places, getting approval from people who, frankly, are, as Abraham Hicks will say, finicky and not, one day they like you, one day they don't, which is the description of social media. So instead, I want you to work the muscle of self-love, self-care, self-approval, so that when you get insulted, it doesn't rock your boat. It really doesn't rock your solid foundation of who you are, knowing that you're lovable, loving, and loved. So I'll start. I love the fact that I am resilient. And no matter how many people insult me, I get mad, and it's good. Actually, I found out that it's better to feel the feeling for 5 seconds than to do the bypass of I'm okay, I'm fine, it doesn't bother me. Because if I do that, it'll keep coming back. But if I process it and get pissed off and then take a breath and go, if I look like you, I'd be miserable too. Just kidding. You do not do that. You do not do that. You go, okay, they're in some pain. And I am the easy lasher outer E. And, everybody's going through what they're going through, and bless them. Not the Southern bless you, but the bless them. And I'm working on that. I really would like for my New Year's, not resolution, but New Year's intention, to lose the edge. Lose the edge is what, came into my head this morning, that there's a little part of me, either because I'm afraid someone's going to say something, or if they do say something, I cut back, right? I may not do it on them, but I hold that hardness in my heart, and I can hold it for 20 years or more. And I really want to lose that. So that's my intention for the year.
That's great self-awareness and self-accountability right there. We were going to talk about resolutions, and I think that's a great one. I love what you said about allowing yourself to feel the anger, though. It's so important, I think, that we embrace all aspects of our humanity without judging them. I mean, there's certain things about us or behaviors that society has taught us to judge as, bad-mannered or ugly. But, I think the important thing is that we allow ourselves to be 100% human. Even, you have to allow space for some of those ugly thoughts or feelings, because as soon as you start living inauthentically, that can bleed into other parts of your life, where if you deny yourself these parts of what it is to be human, you start creating this almost this secondary existence, that is just a representation of who you want to be rather than who you are. And who you really are is, I think, who you want to be accepted or rejected for, because at least then you know where you stand. And if you practice the self-love thing, if you get rejected for who you really are, it won't rock your boat. And you say, hey, at least I know where I stand, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Nobody is. So,
Exactly.
Good on you, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to give myself some love for that one. I think that I'm going for the record for how many times I can affirm on a show today. But James, what do you like about yourself?
I like that I can carry on a conversation with anybody and with everybody. It's allowed me to really meet some interesting people, to learn a lot about myself and others, because a lot of times when other people share, there's this magical thing that happens kind of in the middle. And, it's always a reflection partly on you when you're, learning about and hearing other people tell their story. The way that you react to it, can be informative about who you are. So I like that I can do that because it's afforded me tremendous opportunities for learning. And I like that I'm genuinely curious about folks, because that, I think, facilitates that ability.
Yeah, it's funny. I have different co-hosts that I attribute. My Wednesday co-host, Dr. Tiffany, is definitely nicer than I am. Like, she's like, oh, nice. She's very, very nice. And I have the gift of the gab, but you have a bigger gift of the gab than I do. So I have co-hosts sometimes that give me a place to sort of be. Don't have to win that one. Because you really can talk to anyone, and I think that is definitely a gift. If you want to experience that, go to a Dodger game with James Hawthorn. There is just no one he does not know, and that no straight. There's nothing. There's no. Oh, I got a good one for James Hawthorn. You will never be a stranger.
Yeah, that's a good epitaph. Speaking of things you want to be,
Well, I wasn't thinking epitaph, darling. I was thinking tagline.
Tagline. That
I'm not putting you in the. I'm not putting you below yet.
Much better to be 6 feet tall than 6 feet under.
That's right. That's right. All right. I think we should leave it at there. We could probably do the whole show having a bite of the gratitude sandwich for breakfast, but I think that was a good taste of what I'd like you to do before you go to bed tonight. So top of the bun is when you wake up first thing in the morning, instead of picking this up and starting the MS meaningless scrolling, I want you to actually just keep your eyes closed, take a deep breath, do the gratitude on the top of the bun, things outside of you that you're grateful for. And then at night, before you go to bed, is the things that you appreciate or are grateful for inside of yourself. And then if you do that, you're going to have a way better night's sleep instead of thinking about who done you wrong or what you didn't finish or what you a failure at. Frankly, my dear, everybody does the very best that they can. At the end of the night, that's what I want you to say. Have I done the best that I can with the resources and time that I have? And that is 88% always yes. And then you can fall asleep with a smile on your face. So thanks for joining us for breakfast. And it could be one of your intentions or your resolutions for this new year to start every day with breakfast with me every weekday morning here on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. And now for Street Talk, it's the topic of the day. Everything is awesome. Take it away, James.
Reach out and touch faith or not. So to reach out across miles and states and countries and distances to pursue or entertain a long-term relationship, long distance relationship, or long distance dating. And along with that, having fun while on the road, even if you know it's going to be a short-term thing or fling. Is there any harm in seeing what's on the local menu?
Reach out and touch somebody's boot. Oh, anyways.
That's a different topic.
Well, it was a cross between booby and booty. But anyways, yeah, we're getting naughty on Friday because that's the one day a week that I allow myself to get a little, and then everybody at the studio gets a little nervous on Fridays. But anyways, great topic. And I love the way that James does live like I do. We live our lives out loud on the air. And so whatever we are either experiencing or going through, we get to bring that to talk about and to have, some straight talk around. No right and wrong. These are our opinions, but we are both coaches. And so we do know some things that might alleviate any negative or sad making or angry making or pissed offness making to make your lives happier. So, should we start with the racy one? Like, is there any harm to having a short, sweet, zesty, tangy encounter of that kind while you're traveling, while you're on vacation? I know I'm still swipe or no swiping, and there were a lot of people from all over the place. And when I travel, when I was in Denver, I picked up a lot of likes from Coloradians, and I go between why bother? I'm leaving. I don't want to start a relationship, long distance. It's, difficult. And it's like, why bother like decaffeinated coffee? Or it's been a little while and it would be fun. And what's the harm in having a little, trunk call?
I mean, sometimes a date is just a date, and a date is fun, and I don't think it's wrong to do that, especially if you're upfront with the person and say, yeah, I'm visiting town for the holidays, and I would love to meet somebody new and have a cup of coffee and get to know you, because you never know. It might seem impractical, and it probably is, but you never know. And, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And as long as you don't take it or yourself too seriously, I think it's good to trust your ability to adapt to what life throws at you. And I just read something this morning from an old book I found here at my mom's house, from one of my favorite authors. And the line was, adventure isn't like some distant cousin that calls you out of the blue to crash at your house for the weekend. Adventure is something you have to go out and seek. And so if you want to live a life full of adventure, don't wait for it to fall into your lap. Take some chances. Live life on the wild side, even if it's impractical. So I say go for it. Now, that said, I'm going to tell a personal story where it ultimately didn't work out so well. We're going to go way back in time, more than a decade ago. And I saw my mom for Christmas, and I went up to New York to stay with somebody who I had met previously that summer. And we hit it off. Let's just say we had a really nice night, and we were going to do something fun together for New Year's Eve. Well, after I'd already bought the plane ticket, I find out that he was actually dating somebody, but he says, well, you could still stay here. So I'm like, great. I made all these plans, and now you're unavailable. Well, at this New Year's Eve party that we went to, met a really, really cute guy. Couldn't stop thinking about him. Texted him, said, let's go meet for coffee. And we did. And the connection was immediate. It was intense. It was heavy. And we were like holding hands. We had just met. And out of the blue, he's like, man, I'm catching a bus to DC today, because he lived in DC. He was up in New York for New Year's. And I said, yeah, I'm flying back to LA. And he goes, God, I wish you could, just cancel your flight and jump on the bus to DC with me. As soon as he said that, I get a call. It was snowing in New York, a lot of snow. I get a call from the airline saying your flight's been canceled. The moment he said that. And then they're telling me the options of like other flights I can take. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's the peak of the blizzard. That's going to probably get canceled too. And then it hit me. He just made a wish. Maybe I can grant it. So I said, instead of flying me out of New York, why don't you fly me out of Washington and at 5 days from now? So I just had met this guy the previous night. We had just had this coffee. And so he's looking at me like, what did you just do? And I hung up the phone. I said, you better buy me that bus ticket. He's like, well, it leaves in an hour. So my friend's place was all the way on the other side of Manhattan in a blizzard. I raced back, grabbed my stuff, give my host who, I just gave him a hug and said, thanks for letting me stay. Got to go see about a guy. I'm out of here. I was the last person on the bus, and we pretty much made out the whole bus ride from New York to DC. And we spent the majority of those 5 days together, and it was wonderful. And we decided to give it a shot, the long distance thing. And I came back for my birthday a month later, and soon after that, he was the more practical one. I was the more romantic one. And he said, this is crazy. Like, I'm going to go to law school. I'm definitely going on the East Coast. You have no plans to leave LA. That's at least 3 years where we wouldn't be together. And I was devastated. I was heartbroken because my sense of adventure was strong. And I was really keen to, settle down into a relationship at that point in time. That was, approaching 30. But ultimately, I think his practicality was really sound. He was right. Who knows what would have happened? But
you still stay in touch?
Yeah, every once in a while we reach out. But it was a great experience, and it's a great story, and I'm glad I did it. Smile because it happened. Don't cry because it was over. I wish I could have internalized that at the time when I was really sad that it was going to end. And since then, I've learned not to take anything too seriously and realize that if somebody's not ready to meet you, on that adventure ride, some people want the whiplash roller coaster. Other people want the little teacup ride. And that's cool. Different strokes for different folks. Like, you just have to honor and respect where other people are at and say, man, all right, I'm sorry you're not on the same page. This has been a fun month and a half. Hope we stay in touch. And so I wish I had the perspective I have now. I wish I had that 10 years ago, because it was definitely unnecessarily painful for me at the time, but I don't regret doing it. So I think that story encapsulates the best of what can happen and the worst. And it reminds me of the Red Hot Chili Peppers song, I like pleasure spiked with pain, and music is my aeroplane. Sometimes things are just bittersweet, and that's what makes life so great. It's not black and white. It's like a big gumbo stew.
Yep. And you got a piece of sausage. No. I can say sausage.
What are they spicing your eggnog with at that studio? Whoever's spiking that eggnog is going heavy-handed on it.
I don't know where all this is coming from. It's been a quiet holiday season. Let's just put it that way.
Well, let's get rowdy. I mean, I'm naked from
no,
down right now.
I'm getting rowdy. Can't you tell I'm getting rowdy? So, but what I was going to say is, that's a perfect example of that was a very short but intense chapter in your book of romance. Yes. And so it's the opposite, or balancing out my decaffeinated coffee, why bother, with it was better. I mean, the intensity and the wonderful feelings and your toes curling in the bus ride and all of that great experience is, would you rather not have had that? You said no. I mean, no regrets. And that's like the beauty of having a belief system about relationships like I do, that says you can have multiple chapters and it's okay. I'm not talking that you should have like a picture book and like, a relationship every single page, but some are, 9 months long, some are a month long, some are 10 years long. So every chapter is a good chapter. And I've often said that I think world peace, the key to world peace is if every single relationship you had, when things are done, instead of saying they were, oh, I should have seen the red flags, and oh, I shouldn't have done, and oh, I should have known, and he turned out to be all of that. If we didn't do that, and everybody, it worked when it worked, and then when it started not working, we worked at different things to try to find a solution, but in the end, we had all of the juice we could have out of our fruit together. I've not said that before. And we've enjoyed drinking that juice. And now, it's just not a match anymore. And
even if you
there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. It just isn't a match anymore. If we could do that, we would have world peace.
I mean, that happens. People grow apart, they change, they fall out of love. But even if you fall out of love, you can still break up with love. And I think the key to that is having gratitude for the experience that you shared when it was good. I think, because we're such logical beings, even those of us that are more emotional than logical, we still have this prefrontal lobe capable of all this logical thinking. And in an attempt to try and make sense of what happened, we go towards logic and we go towards trying to figure out whose fault it was, because fault and blame is really like a mechanism of the logical mind. But it's such a silly thing to apply to the phenomena of people simply just growing apart, or falling out of love. It happens, and that's enough. That's the only understanding I think that is really necessary. I mean, maybe to go one more layer and be like, we really didn't communicate great together, or we didn't have enough shared interests. That can be helpful for your future relationships, but staying away from the notion of fault and blame, it doesn't do anybody any good. And I think that when we go to the logical mind, it starts to activate our ego, and we want to think that we look at a relationship that ends as a failure, and it's not a failure. Sometimes it's just change. And hey, if you believe change is good, then that failure may actually be a good thing, because it's just a product of change. And so if you look at it as it's just change, it's not a failure, then you don't need to assign blame either to yourself or the other person. And that, I think, is how you break up with love, even if you fall out of love.
Well said. Well said. And we're going to have to take a quick break for news, weather, and traffic here on KCAA NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 106.5. And home to the Asian Oprah #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Don't go away. When we hear a word from our sponsors, Chuck Woolery used to say on Love Connection, we'll be back in 2 and 2. You know me. It's peace in, peace out. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Straight Talk with myself and
James Hawthorn.
Well, she has been dubbed the Asian Oprah, and she just wants all of us to be happy.
Dr. Marissa, aka the Asian Oprah, says the most important thing you can choose is choosing to be happy.
You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa.
That's the idea for Dr. Marissa Pay's new book called 8 Ways to Be Happy.
Many of us say, I am my own worst critic. Nobody's harder on me than I am. And my response to that is, stop it! Why are you doing that to yourself? You have to be your biggest fan, because if you can't at the end of the day say, I did a good job, who is? We don't have to constantly be angry at the things that are wrong. Why don't we choose to be happy about things that are right? We have the choice. That's our muscle. And life is so amazing if we can see it.
And James, why don't you tell our wonderful listeners and watchers what you would like them to do with their physical bodies and what services that you can help them with for this new year?
Yes, I am a firm believer that the key to happiness is taking care of all aspects of your health: mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. When your vessel is in good shape, it just helps with everything else. It buoys your mood. So even if it's not a resolution for you to get healthier this year, I do encourage you to make it an everyday part of your life, no matter how big or how small. To help you on that journey, I normally will do a 60-minute consultation first session with clients. I'm going to extend that to 90 minutes because I really want anybody that comes to me to think about their goals and what their needs are, and I really want to help. At the end of this session, you will walk out with actionable things you can do, even if you choose not to work together after that. And it is on me. I want to meet you and I want to help you with your journey. So if you message me at Action Man Fitness on Instagram, just mention Asian Oprah or Straight Talk, anything like that, so I know where you came from. And I'll be happy to meet with you for 90 minutes and give you some actionable things to help you on your health, fitness, and wellness journey. I guarantee you it'll make you a happier person and a better partner in whatever relationship you may be in or be pursuing.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And the station that leaves no listener behind. And it is Friday, which means we have Straight Talk with myself and
James Brandon Hawthorn.
We're so glad that you're here. Please do work with James as far as your body temple, and we're going to make this 2025 the best it can possibly be. Body, mind, spirit, soul. Speaking of spirit, soul, and mind, I also do happiness coaching. So I'm also running a special right now. If you go to drmarissa.life, you'll see that session there for you. So I am going back to, I don't know if we finished our topic. For those of you who just joined us, I see eyeballs in the studio. I want to just thank Leo, who's been pretty regular this week. So identifying and giving his 8 cents worth into the conversation about holiday hoopla. Actually, it is having long distance relationships, whether short or long. And meeting you is intoxicating, easy to jump on that bus. And James,
it was very easy to jump on that bus. And what a bus ride it was. Let's spitball a little bit. Let's say that you meet somebody who you go head over heels for, or you at least don't want to say goodbye to at the end of your trip. Maybe we can throw out some helpful suggestions or ideas for how to navigate what can be a challenging dating choice.
Okay. I've had one, I like to do everything once, marriage, divorce, long distance relationship. And it was with a gentleman in San Francisco. And at the beginning, it was very exciting that, the looking forward to definitely doesn't lend itself to getting bored, because you're always sort of, you're a little bit pining when you're talking, because you really want to be able to touch them and hold them when you're talking on the phone. Zoom wasn't a big thing, and that's hashtag COVID silver lining. But even Zoom, it's 2D, it's not 3D. You can't really, suck face through a screen. So it is definitely not the same as face to face. And at the beginning it was great when can't wait to see you. We would go back and forth on who was going where. But then I would say probably in the second trimester in my pregnancy model of relationships, the 4th month, it was, he would come down, and before it was, bring you something or sweet nothings. And then, there was some, I remember I had been expecting something, probably flowers. I seem to always be wanting flowers, and people, you don't bring me flowers. That's like my theme song. I can't seem to get guys to give me flowers. But anyways, and when I mentioned it, he goes, I just spent money coming down to see you. That should be enough. And it was like, wow, okay, here's long distance. There's now this, added expense, added burden, and that was the beginning of the end of the relationship. So, that's my experience. So for me, that's why when I'm swiping, if you're not within this amount radius, it's not going to work because it takes time to know people. And, I don't want to spend 2 hours on the freeway to see someone in the valley and vice versa. And my expectation is you're going to have to come down and see me first date and take me out for dinner. That's just my, rule to test to see how much someone really wants to meet me, right or wrong. I know it sounds, all the feminists are out there going, and all the guys are going, but hey, it's worked. I've had out of 800 successful matches, I've had 26 first dates, 2 second dates, 1 third date, 1 fourth date.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's totally your prerogative, right? To know what you want. And I think, I want to give advice to people that want to attempt the impractical and the improbable. I based on your experience, the advice that I can glean from that to potentially give would be just to make sure that those expectations are clear. So there is no bitterness around, oh, I spent money to come down here. Like, if you're really crazy about the person, I think it's good to have a plan and, be like, hey, why don't we, see each other a couple weekends a month. Let's say you're both 9 to 5ers. First weekend of the month, I'll fly out there. Third weekend of the month, you come here, and we can have that to look forward to. And, during COVID, even though it's 2-dimensional, I mean, I felt very connected with family and friends watching movies together. And when you're in a movie theater, you can't talk about can't talk out loud about the movie. But when you're watching on Zoom, you press pause, you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fun. I enjoyed that. So, I think that that can be a great way to not only sustain, but even grow a relationship until circumstances change or one of you decides to make the big move. And I know friends where they have made that move. They said, I'm not that thrilled about my career. And if I quit my job, there's really nothing holding me where I am. And I've really grown to love you. I'm moving to join you, And so it's one of those things where you can't demand it of the other person or ask it, but sometimes you never know what's going to come down the road. And they might have a moment of reflection and say, on second thought, I would rather be out there with you than living my life here. Yeah. And you just, because you don't know what's coming, if you like that big roller coaster, if you're that kind of person, I say go for it. But as with all relationships, communication's key. Making a plan for success, to see each other is key. Yeah, I think that it can be done. And if you don't mind some uncertainty and some challenges, if you really like that person, do you really want to not try? I know I don't.
Yeah.
Want to not try.
Yeah. My life motto for the future is no regrets. Sorry, for the past is no regrets. And for the future is don't die wondering. So it absolutely coincides with what you're talking about. Like, life is too short to not investigate, right? Try it out. What is, like you said, if nothing's really holding you, are you going to let a job that you don't like hold you in a place where the potential of that, well, they might break my heart. And it's like, I tell often my male clients, especially, who had their hearts broken when they were 17 or 16, and I don't want to get hurt again. And I'm just like, darling, you're going to let first of all, no one can break your heart. It's your heart. You're going to allow that feeling to stay with you for the rest of your life. And then you're not going to have the relationships with anyone from that fear. Fear stands for future events already ruined. So, stop it. Don't do that to yourself. You're only, above ground for who knows how long. But yeah. I was going to, I lost that thought because I went on a tangent. But, I've decided that I have really good memory, but my recall sucks. So I used to think for a California minute that because I have 8 jobs and I don't have a lot of time, that it would be good to have what you're saying, first and third weekend, we go away, we have a great passionate weekend, and then, we come back, and because sometimes I can't even imagine having someone in my space. The older we get, the more, whatever. But the problem so I started widening my swiping radius. So San Francisco was okay, San Diego's okay. But I forgot that to get to know someone, you have to be close in the beginning, because you can't really get to know someone well long distance. So once you've established a connection, that first part of the connection, it's so difficult to, like, let's say in your case, you go on vacation for 2 weeks, you spend, let's say, 10 days with that person every single day, and you have these feelings and it's so intense, right? Once you leave, you're kind of frozen in that first trimester, which is almost always good. The butterflies, the promises you can't keep, I will love you forever. You don't know that person yet. So that part of the relationship is difficult to do when you are in long distance. So that would be it's not practical. It's the real timeline on relationships. We all, in that first 3 months, talk until 2 a.m. and writing their last name on, when we were young, doing that, or picturing ourselves as the Mr. or Mrs. and the whole, fantasy. And then reality hits. But you can't have reality hit if you're not seeing each other regularly.
Now, you don't think, if you're seeing each other, spending time together, even you're living together for, 2 days at a time on that weekend, when you're sharing quarters with somebody, and that's how you navigate it, because sometimes when you live in the same area, you're not spending 2, consecutive days together, like on weekends, using the weekend example, you're spending 3 to 6 hours together, and then you go off and live your life. I'm going to actually argue that it might even be more intimate when you only get to know somebody in those weekends where you're living together, albeit, a weekend at a time, because there's no guarantee that you're dating somebody close to you that you're really going to spend that amount of consecutive time with them on the regular.
I would agree with you, except that it doesn't matter in that first 3 months if you are together a lot or a little. It's this phase of a relationship that is almost always positive, right? Because as Don Miguel Ruiz says in Mastery of Love, it's like when you're dating, and in that first part, the glow, you're showing the good side of your fruit in the marketplace, right? Everything is something new, that in the second trimester, that new thing that was, oh, isn't it so cute that he or she does blank? And then by the second trimester, it's like, I can't believe that they blah. So it's one of those, whether or not you spend, 100% of your time together or not, there's just something about that first, beautiful flush of a relationship that is beautiful. It's real, but it's not going to be real or like that in the second trimester. It's the nature of the way relationships roll. I've yet to meet someone who has the ability to take that first 3 months and extend it to 30 years, because that's when people say relationships are work, right? At the beginning, it's not that much work. And then it becomes more work. And then they come to me as couples and say, how much work is too much work, right? So my formula is, after the second trimester, if you get to the third trimester, that's the decision-making time when you know the great and you know the not so great, are you still happy 80% of the time? Now I know if you're if you're romantic, you don't want to hear la 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 because it's too technical or too scientific. It shouldn't be. It should just be magical. No, relationships are a dynamic that we have in life. This trimester, this pregnancy model works for friendships too, right? You meet someone, you know. Like I met someone, they're my movie buddy, they're great. And then the more I get to know her, you know, the ways that we differ, it's like, but then, you know, I made a choice and I love that we can just call each other and let's go see this, because movies are one of my favorite things. And I'm tired of getting in trouble laughing with the guy beside me when his wife's on the other side getting pissed. So
now, at least as far as my, dating habits go, I don't see how what you said relates to whether to long distance or not. Because for me, when I'm dating somebody, I don't, jump in all hot and heavy. Like we might have one great date that starts off as lunch, and then the next thing you know, you spend all day together and they spend the night. But more often than not, you have a meal together. You let it cool for a little bit and you kind of let it marinate, and then you see each other a few days later, maybe a week later, and you do like another meal, maybe they stay over. But it's like, frequent short doses. And if you're doing the long distance thing, let's say you have one really passionate encounter and you decide to keep it going, you have that one weekend where you see a lot of each other. And then you kind of continue down that path. If you decide to keep seeing each other, you have very focused, concentrated weekends. And in my mind, that fully allows for that 3-month honeymoon phase that you're talking about. It just looks, in fact, maybe even more so than traditional dating, because a lot of people, especially because people hum and haw so much these days, and especially in LA, people are so non-committal that sometimes a lot of relationships are really slow burns. You're like, does this guy like me? Do they not like me? It's been a week since I've heard from them. And meanwhile, they're testing the waters over here, over there. They're not sure if they're ready for a relationship. So sometimes when you do the long distance scene, you're committed to seeing each other every other weekend, alternating, travel. I think that it almost allows for that honeymoon phase to be even stronger. So I didn't quite follow how your discussion on the trimesters either supports or negates long distance dating.
Yeah, well, that was a missed communication, and it was, I think it does apply, and that, let's say you have the guy that you met while you were traveling and you had an intense 3 or 4 days, right? And then there could be another plan to go cross country or them coming here. And all of this is in the first 3 months. It's going to be really great. That's the trimester. And then the second trimester is when even long distance is going to begin to get to you, or things about them are going to begin to get to you, because that's the other side of who they are, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just the real side. The phenomenon I'm talking about is that whole Pygmalion effect. So in the first 3 months, you're seeing through glasses that are all aglow, right? So whether it's long distance or not, that first segment of time is going to be fabulous, whether it is long distance or not. But it's when the second part of the relationship, when it's not so shiny and new, and it's not so, I'll love you forever, or all of that the reality of who they are and what the situation is. So when exactly, that's what happens. It goes.
I have no idea how or why that happened.
But it was just helping making my point. Things feel like they've gone sideways because you told me you would love me forever. You told me that you've never felt like this before. Then why wouldn't you, make these changes and all of that? That's the reality that will hit whether you're long distance or not.
Right. No, I totally understand that and agree with that. I just wasn't sure how that related to the to today's topic, but I think it's a good reminder that that's where the rubber meets the road in those second 3 months. Some say it's after 3 months, some say it's after 6. I think it's after 3. I tend to agree with your timeline more than the people that say 6. And I think it's just interesting because when you're gathering that information in that second trimester, it's in a very different format. You're gathering data in a much different way when it's a long distance thing, because it's short, concentrated doses instead of a little here, a little here, a little here, a little here, instead of frequent quick hits.
Yeah. That I agree with. It's going to accelerate or not. Leo,
right.
Things simmer down and we get the real flavor. Wow, you get the analogy
right. Good metaphor.
Love it. And with that, we're going to have to do a final word. We're getting to the end of the show. James Hawthorn, what's your final word on long distance relationships?
Well, to piggyback on your "Don't Die Wondering," tagline, if you will, I'm going to say that regrets are a natural part of our human existence. And I started the show by saying you got to embrace all parts of being human, even the things that society or our logical minds have told us are negative. Regrets aren't negative. It's just part of being human. And I would much rather regret something I did than something I didn't do. I don't want to die wondering. So when it comes to long distance hookups, flings, or if you're ready to settle down, dating with an open-mindedness towards relationship, if you guys really hit it off, I say go for it, because adventure ain't going to call you like that distant cousin looking to crash for the weekend. You got to go out and find it.
Beautiful. I say that everything happens for my divine and best good. That's what I've been saying now for probably 8 years. And I'm going to add to that today that everything and everyone happens for my divine and best good. So every single encounter, long or short, every relationship, far or close, is happening for my divine good. And what can I learn from it? What is being developed in me as a direct result of this long distance fling?
Hey, Dr. Marissa, it sounds like we just went from the beginning of reach out and touch faith to now you got to have faith. Changing our theme song for this episode.
Absolutely. All right. You know the drill, James. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through, inner peace. Thanks for joining us today. Leo, thanks for participating in the Cashew Gallery chat. We're just so delighted. We have a great time. Hopefully you did too. Go free subscribe on my YouTube TV channel. Go get some training from James Action Man Fitness on Instagram and everywhere else. Doc Balance for me. Now go and have the best weekend ever. I'll see you on Monday.
Bye, everyone.